back to the second segment of this week's Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, Eric Donovan. Had some good races in the second segment. We're going to start out with a turf race that was run on our abbreviated card, reasonably abbreviated card, on Breeders' Cup Day. I think it was the second race that day.
It was the second race. It was a 35 claimer. The horse we're taking a look at here is the 4 DOCKMASTER. I missed the trouble on DOCKMASTER first time out, but when I went back, when you alerted me to watch the race again, and you said you definitely agree with me, I said, all right, well, I'll take your word for it. Watched it, and I definitely agree with him. He doesn't get into too much trouble here early on. We just want to stop and highlight it just to kind of show you where DOCKMASTER is in the race. And here, pace a little bit slow to develop, but that's not really the key for him, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, immediately he's a bit more of a closer, but he gets a very good ride and gets very good position here. And as you said, the pace very slow. And we'll pick him up here. He's already lost a little bit of position, but he's about 6th or so on the inside. And now is when the running starts to be done. And the eventual winner is just inside of him here, and that's Blue Rider. And he's actually getting a little bit of trouble too, though he ends up getting through very easily. But DOCKMASTER gets completely put into a pocket here. He's forced out 3 wide. The rider's trying to ride him. He's squeezed and bumped around there, and he ends up now basically back to last.
Yeah, back to last here, and he's still got a wall of horses in front of him too to negotiate. So very poor the way things shook out for DOCKMASTER around the turn there, trying to finish up into a bunch of horses there right in front of him, and really has nowhere to run.
Yeah, he's still in a package here and never ever gets clear. I was watching the race upstairs, and the one thing I noticed after the race was DOCKMASTER sort of rallying a lot past the wire and galloping out. Well, not surprising, he never had any room to run in the stretch. And I think DOCKMASTER gets in a similar field at Aqueduct in a fairly run race. And sometimes I like the races around the 2 turns here more than the 1 1/8 2-turn races at Belmont. They seem to be run a little bit more fairly, and I'm looking for DOCKMASTER to get the money, similar horses next time.
The turns are a little bit tighter, but the pace seems a little bit fair, and closers seem to be able to do well from inside as long as you get some running room.
Yeah, the races, I like the turf. I like the turf course at Aqueduct, and don't forget we haven't really raced on it. We haven't been on it since April, and we barely raced on it. Actually, we raced on a reasonable amount then, considering the weather was nice, but we haven't been there in 6 months. So I think the course will be in good shape for the next month or so, assuming the weather holds up.
We'll hope to use it at least into the first week of December. That would be nice. The second race we'll take a look at here on the second segment is the Sport Page Handicap. Very good race on the Breeders' Cup undercard at Belmont Park, and a number of things going on in the race here. We'll take a look, first of all, at the number 7, WAMOD, I think is how it's pronounced. And WAMOD is in the whitish cap, about 3rd from last now, the number 7. And we're going to see jockey Joe Bravo kind of take him back a little bit, settle toward the back of the pack as we roll the tape again here. There's a WAMOD highlighted, going to just tail off a little bit here, go toward the trail of the field, and at this point it seems like, all right, well, this is going to be where he's going to do his running from, but then all of a sudden WAMOD starts to make a big move around the turn here and backstretch, and really gets up into contention very quickly.
Yeah, Joe seems to be having trouble trying to rate him here instead of sort of being back in the pack, and it seemed like a contentious pace, though it wasn't exactly a lightning fast pace, and WAMOD, as you pointed out, makes that move from last basically up to first in the matter of a little over a furlong, and he's still being held here, and that's probably what caused it. But the reality is he's making a very premature wide move in a race that's probably too far for him to begin with.
Yeah, I think 6 furlongs is his best distance. In 6 furlongs he'd be able to make this move and not have to worry about, Jock wouldn't have to worry about keeping something left in reserve for the last furlong here. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and take a look at another horse in this race. We're going to take a look at the 3 Gold TRIPPI. He was not on the screen yet, toward the back of the pack. There he is in the gold cap, 2 off the rail, and Gold TRIPPI is going to get into some trouble here in the stretch. It's going to be a little bit more apparent when you see it on the head-on shot, when we'll show you later, but you can pretty much get the gist of it here, that Gold TRIPPI's in a tough spot here, horses all around, inside, outside, in front, and is just going to get steadied here as the horse slows down right in front of him a little bit, gets checked pretty hard. I don't know that he was going to do too much running in this race. I don't know that he was going to threaten the winner here, but maybe you give him another chance off this effort here, and we did see WAMOD finish 3rd there. Here's the head-on of Gold TRIPPI coming into the stretch, and you'll see it's a little more accentuated here with the trouble that he gets into.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in this race. First of all, I'm not sure that Gold TRIPPI, much like WAMOD, isn't better off closing at 6 furlongs, and both of them could easily be headed for the fall highway. It'll be interesting to see how that race assembles. That's on Thanksgiving Day. And also, the winner gets a perfect trip, Kodiak Cowboy, and Kodiak Cowboy is a very good horse. The second horse, Eternal Star, he gets an odd ride, and then he's up close, he drops back, and he makes that final burst. I'm not sure it wasn't a little bit illusory for him, and we'll see what happens to him down the road, whether he runs out of town or he too shows up in the fall highway. I think at 6 furlongs, the race could be contested in a different way, and WAMOD particularly interests me. But you know what? Gold TRIPPI's been in very good form.
And I thought a little bit of a disappointment there was Merchant Marine maybe being down inside. He had to maybe be up a little bit closer than he's used to going to 7 furlongs. If he stretches back out, finds a different kind of spot, maybe he might be an okay horse.
Right, but the problem is the stretch out is the Cigar Mile, which may prove to be just
tough.
too tough a spot for him. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Maybe there's an overnight stake here. Nice horse, just might not fit with these horses ultimately.
The last race we'll take a look at is the 6th race from October 26th. This is a maiden special weight for 2-year-old fillies. Andy, so much going on in this race, and it starts right at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, immediately you'll see, as we'll show you when the field breaks, you got a bunch of horses getting left. The 2, the 6, the 4. Now, the 4 is a half to Zenyatta and Balance, and Zenyatta particularly, who just won the Breeders' Cup, and this race was run on Sunday. And this horse attracted a lot of money, probably because of that breeding. I was surprised. The 2 horse comes from much sort of lower connections, Megadiva, with lesser connections and a lesser-known rider. And the 6 in here, Chocolate Pops, a Gary Contessa second-time starter. And you can see the rider, Eddie Castro, sort of asking him here to keep him in the game after getting left. But ultimately, the horse has no speed, and that's no problem because the pace is being contested fairly strongly here. And Megadiva is a little bit being ridden to keep up here.
Yeah, Megadiva. I thought, you know what, of all the horses that were in this race, Megadiva had some trouble in here. Probably gets away next time out as being the most overlooked out of the horses we're going to take a look at here, probably just because of Megadiva's connections. The trainer is Rafael Ramos, a guy that I'm not too familiar with. I think he's had some horses maybe up at Suffolk or out of town, definitely, but he runs well here. Now we're going to slow it down again and take another look at where some of these horses are in the race coming up shortly.
Yeah, and the eventual winner is the 3 who's behind him. That's Chocolate Diva starting to make a move here. The eventual winner is the 3 in front. The 2 Megadiva is sitting 5th, and a wise jockey agent will be getting a better-known rider to ride this horse next time. Sometimes you see these riders ride him because nobody wants to ride this horse. Chocolate Pop is making, I think, a bit of a premature wide swing here, and the winner does have some trouble here, Seattle Gray, but I think more was made of it because the reality is Chocolate Pop is making this big premature move. You've got Megadiva getting himself jammed down on the inside here, an inexperienced move, and of course Treasure Trail is making that final move behind them, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, very good race here, and we're going to see the trouble that the winner, Seattle Gray, gets into here. It just gets kind of, switched around a little bit, has to come outside. Does have a clear run, though. I thought runs well here, but we're going to see the number of horses getting some trouble in the stretch here.
Megadiva is getting sort of blocked behind horses, and this is a race that we're telling you, go back and watch this segment again or go to the replays and watch it. And, Megadiva still easily holds off Treasure Trail. It was making that sort of late clunk up. And I think Treasure Trail is one that's going to get bet more down the road, especially stretching out with that kind of breeding. And I'm not sold based on this performance because the race did sort of fall apart. And I think that the winner had a good trip, even though the trouble's sitting behind. Chocolate Pop made the premature move. Megadiva got in the trouble. Both of those horses are going to be very tough the next time they run.
The top 4 horses I think you could all look out for in this race and see what they'll do next time out. I think all horses worth keeping an eye on. And just another race where trouble happens early and often. Yeah,
and it's an interesting 2-year-old race with lightly raced 2-year-olds. And we'll get some very good maiden races. November is always a month at Aqueduct where you seem to get really interesting big fields going 7 furlongs. And we've had some good debuters last year, Lieutenant Ron, National Pride. Anyway, that does it for this week's Trips and Traps, and we'll be back next week with a first segment full of Aqueduct races. And once again, remember, that email address is tripsandtraps@NYRAInc.com. Keep them coming. Eric and I like to get them, and give us some ideas. Lessen the workload for us.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.